Hey guys, it's your boy Eli from the Geek Centurions back for our final review of this season of Watchmen. See how they fly. Well, it's been a long journey.
Yeah, it's been like
Couple weeks.
a couple of weeks of this show and
A lot of mind fuckery.
a lot of twists and turns, and I think it's a pretty okay show.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's good. It's a good show. I think the more you dig into it, you'll find a lot more better stuff. You'll find a lot of stuff that resonates. But if you take it as is, it's a good show.
Yeah, it's a solid show. I think all the stuff that it wanted to do, it does pretty well. But yeah, on the whole, this episode is definitely pretty much just sort of like wraps everything up kind of very nicely.
Yeah, and we'll get to that later on. But it's a really. I'm actually surprised how good this show is. It's for a Watchmen show you wouldn't expect it to be this good because the connotation was always it is unfilmable, it's unadaptable. You really can't do anything with it. But Damon Lindelof and his team, they found a way to do it, and in a very pronounced and modern way to do it.
Well, yeah, I feel like half the reason why I think they were definitely successful with the show is I think half of it was due to the fact that it is sort of more of like a continuation of the comic rather than like a full-on adaptation.
While still holding true to what the comic was about.
Yeah, like it basically sort of follows up on the comic and continues some of the comic's sort of variable themes and stuff like that, and
the messages, characters.
Yeah. So it's sort of like it you kind of like can like understand that like this show is sort of like it makes you kind of like, okay, yeah, I can see that happening within this universe. I can see this being like a logical conclusion to how the story from the comics pans out years later and where all these characters are now.
Yeah. And so, as you guys can tell, we're just talking about our thoughts on the film, but we're going to go further into the episode. But, we have a lot to say about this. Nothing really bad. It's just more like, it was good.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was pretty good. It was a solid, series throughout. There was definitely a bit like, slow moments, but when
little bumps in the road.
Yeah, but when it like got when it did
what it had to do.
Yeah, it did good.
No, you're right, and I'm probably one of the few people that I've known in my group friends that has spoke very highly of this show. It is a very good show. It's a show that I think a lot of people should watch.
Yeah.
So should we get into it?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get into
it's good 3 minutes of talking good about it. But okay, so this is See How They Fly. This is the final episode of this season of Watchmen, and we start off with Adrian Veidt filming his Robert Redford thing, where he was telling Redford, "Hey, I'm the one who did all the squid attack. It's all fake. I'm orchestrating you becoming president and such." And it's more on the background characters, his servants, who are all Vietnamese, which is a nice little touch that I feel like the movie didn't catch, is that he took in a lot of Vietnamese as helpers.
Yeah.
And one of them is a woman, Bihan, the daughter / actual mother of Lady True. She sneaks in. She goes and steals a vial of Adrian's semen.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of weird that he keeps that.
Yeah, he keeps it behind a painting of Alexander the Great, which they emphasize later on, but yeah, it is sort of weird.
Which makes sense because he always idolized that character.
Oh yeah,
that guy. Yeah. And so You know, she takes it. She does as any woman would do if she wanted to have a baby. You know, injected inside of her. And then years later, in 2008, True visits Vite.
Yeah.
And they have a conversation. And essentially, she kind of plays him for his like success in stopping nuclear Armageddon. Even though he doesn't get any recognition, which is the big issue that he has, he doesn't really get the whole "I saved the world, but no one knows" kind of thing.
Yeah.
And True pretty much lays on him like she knows everything, and that she wants Dr. Manhattan's powers.
Yeah, like she specifically describes that I've designed a way to where I can kill Dr. Manhattan and take his powers and then use them to pretty much solve all the world's problems. Because she sort of like
she says that she essentially created this thing that's gonna help capture Dr. Manhattan. Sound familiar, guys? Yeah, it's the same idea that the 7th Cavalry have.
Yeah, so it's sort of like it's like her way of explaining that explaining to Vite like I want to do like all these things to help the world better, and to do that I want to have Dr. Manhattan's powers, and it's sort of like Adrian Vite's sort of like well, I'm not sure how you're gonna do that, and she sort of like tries to like, so since you're my dad, I was hoping you would give me some money for it.
A lot of alimony checks there.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he
didn't know.
He didn't know. It was not his consent.
No, it was not.
So it definitely sort of like he's very shocked by it as well.
Sorry, I had to find a sneeze there, but yeah. So essentially, from there, she basically drops that she essentially knows about where Dr. Manhattan is, and she's had a satellite always that would always like go around checking on him, and that's how Adrian Vite knew how to make the sign, knew why those satellites were coming. He remembered everything. He timed it perfectly so that way it happened the way he wanted. Now, the big thing is that Adrian's kind of like, I have no obligation to you. When I was your age, I essentially made a name for myself. I had this possibility of using my family's money, but I was like, no, I'm gonna make my name for myself all the way. And he's like, I'll never acknowledge you as a daughter. Turns out the little message he was writing with the dead Cruikshanks and what's the other guy's name?
I know, I don't remember.
Lady Mr. Phillips and Lady Cruikshank. Like, it was like, save me, daughter. It was basically his way of like being kind of humble and calling out for her help.
Yeah.
And so that essentially now leads us to, if you didn't know from last week's episode, Adrian Vite's imprisoned. He's been clawing his way out to make sure he would be ready to go out. And he successfully leaves with True's spaceship that arrived just for him. And there, he kind of has a fight with the game warden.
Yeah, like the game warden is obviously sort of still adamant about him being like, you can't leave, all right? I'm not letting you leave no matter what.
Yeah. And they recreated the comic scene in where the game warden would shot Vite only for him to like catch the bullet, and he would later just like fight Adrian Vite only for Adrian to kill him.
Yeah.
And Adrian pretty much confirms to him and to all of us as the audience that he just the reason he made him wear a mask was because he wanted to prove the point that masks can make people cruel, and he needed like a worthy adversary to keep him sane. And he's like, and of course the warden's like, was I at least a good adversary? He's like, nah. They put one hell of a show.
Yeah, he was sort of like, sort of like being like, I wanted you to be a worthy adversary for me, and he's like, was I worthy? Like, no.
Nah.
So and he just dies right there.
It's kind of sad because he just immediately turns like he has like this. Oh, we're on the same level, and then he just like sad after that reveal, which is kind of funny. And of course, he leaves. Everyone is saying goodbye, and what later happens is, he as he goes up in the spaceship, they tell him that he needs to be encased so that way he won't the food and oxygen won't be a problem for him. Turns out he was that gold statue that was in Lady True's house the whole time.
Yeah. It turns out that she had already saved him, because I think by that point, I think in 2019, like the current year, obviously, like she's already saved him. She has him like made to look like a statue, I guess, to hide in plain sight, so that when the day arrives that she's going to put her plan into motion, she pretty much
wants to prove to him that I didn't need you for this kind of situation.
Yeah, which is sort of like what he told her is like, listen, you can do. I'm not gonna give you anything because I
have no obligation to you.
Yeah, like, I don't need to give you anything because I don't really know you and stuff like that. So like she essentially proves him
wrong.
Yeah, like sort of like I built myself, but in the same way, like pretty much is kind of his daughter in a way, because she built herself up from basically nothing,
and essentially from there she is like just as crazy as he is.
Yeah, because she is, so like her plan is essentially the same as the Calvary's, except like she's
probably a little more thought out.
Definitely, probably a lot more thought out, because for her, she's definitely going to.
She is the smartest woman in the world,
as she claims, and for her, she pretty much, I'm guessing, her stopping the Calvary is basically just, I'm gonna get Dr. Manhattan from you, and then you do the same thing you guys are gonna do, except I'm gonna do it on me,
and I'm gonna use it to basically fix the world's problems and all that good stuff. And she's ready to tell her daughter, really her mother, that you're my mother, not my daughter. But she already knew, and that's kind of like obvious because like since she's been being pumped with like a lot of the nostalgia, she would remember all that situation.
Well, yeah, she was feeding her memories of herself. Yeah. So considering that Bihan herself is also very smart. Yeah. She probably would have figured out that, oh, I'm like your mom, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because Adrian realizes like you cloned your mother.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I had to.
Well, I mean, yeah, I did. What are you gonna do about it?
And essentially, what happens next is that, sorry. So they go out to where essentially the little confession room was for Dr. Manhattan. They go there, and this is where her whole plan is, that she's eventually going to do something to get the Calvary's attention. Now, Adrian sort of realizes that, hey, that's my last time, don't worry about it. Essentially, Adrian realizes that time has passed, everyone thinks of him this way, they think he's dead, but obviously not true. And we also get to see what essentially is the Watchtower, or the Millennium Clock. I like to call it the Watchtower because it looks like a watchtower to me.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can see that, but yeah. So yeah, like he obviously sees the the clock tower, and inside the clock tower starts to flow out this giant like orb. Yeah, which is basically the thing that she's going to use to capture Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, and from there, Adrian really initially recognized it, and he's like, it's this is the end. And I like how he quotes a line from, or the words that Rorschach would always carry around when he was in his like normal civilian clothes, a little sign that says "the end is nigh." He essentially said that. I thought it was like I felt like I caught that. I think it's a connection, but it's just me.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
The book. But the cavalry is just as True is getting her people together. The cavalry's getting everyone together. Like we're Joan. What's her name, right? Joan, the wife of Judd.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Joan is there. Keed Senior's there. John Keed's dad.
Yeah.
The guy who installed the Keed Act that made vigilantes illegal, and essentially they're all getting ready to, witness, John's ascension into godhood as the new Dr. Manhattan, or whatever he wants to call himself. And now we find out, and this is the best part, we know what happened to Looking Glass. He's hiding among men, the cavalry.
Yeah, like he pretty much is standing guard next to Laurie, who's pretty much being positioned in front of the cage, ready for Dr. Manhattan, and like he sort of like tells her, "Hey, it's me, don't worry, I'm gonna get us out of here."
Yeah, just gotta wait for the right time. And of course, all this is happening on the same time Dr. Manhattan's getting captured, because immediately, the light turns on and it's Dr. Manhattan in the cage. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Dr. Manhattan."
It's like, "Oh my God, it actually worked. He's here in the cage, and now it's time to put our plan into motion."
And as they're about to explain, Angela is literally is at this point torturing a 7th Cavalry member in order to know the location. And now we get into essentially John Keed's big speech about him not liking being part of, the basically him complaining about Robert Redford as the government, how they took his guns, and a lot of stuff that you would kind of hear in a very, like, alt-right kind of thought process.
Yeah, like basically, after hearing the truth from Adrian, like the video from Adrian Veidt, I'm guessing Keed sort of wanted to essentially this whole plan is sort of like a sort of retaliation against the current government, sort of like him feeling that the current government has pretty much just targeted white people to be the problem, and using repredations and stuff like that.
A lot of stuff that has been built up throughout the show, like the repredations, like the whole Cyclops and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they're all part of Cyclops. Keene Senior even does the Cyclops symbol before they enter the building. So it's an extension of that subplot, and that Keene is basically gonna I think he mentioned his plan before to Laurie that he's gonna take Dr. Manhattan's powers and essentially establish a return to form.
Yeah, and they wanted to start a class warfare.
Well, it's more race warfare, really.
Race warfare, but it's I heard class, and that's what I thought, but it's race warfare.
Yeah.
That was the whole reason why we had the White Knight. It was essentially a way to it started off the what do you call it when it's it's an object, it's about to be blown up? A powder keg. Powder keg. It's it would have been the powder keg to establish this whole big problem they're gonna have later on. But it all changed the moment Dr. Manhattan teleported one of their members to where Dr. Manhattan was born, the whole New Mexico science field where he was when he was John, he got disintegrated and come back in that same.
Yeah.
It's that place, and essentially that that clicked for them, and they had eventually developed this plan into capturing Dr. Manhattan and doing his transfer. But he also established that his previous plan about starting a race war was kind of half baked. So obviously this plan is kind of half baked.
Yeah, like he mentions that I think his original goal was to become president,
Yeah.
so that he could like I guess like change the government that way. But then he was like, obviously like, and he was going to use the White Knight as sort of like the propel him, because I think he set up, because he like essentially was the one that like pushed the laws to like put policemen in masks and stuff, so that way you would have two groups in masks that you don't really know who's on, like I guess to like still like who you don't know who's on whose side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, he wanted to like become president, but now that like they found out that basically Cal was Dr. Manhattan in disguise, that they had Judd and his wife try to be close with the family, and slowly like he develop like essentially find a way to capture him and then take his powers.
That was the plan. By the way, as he's explaining this, he's essentially taking off his clothes all the way to leaving just his underwear, and it's a very like Dr. Manhattan underwear.
Yeah, it's basically that.
They make a joke like he looks silly, because that one was silly. And now, as we go along, Angela comes in. She's like, basically saying, "Don't do this. It's not gonna work." And John is saying, "I'm gonna go ahead and do it." To which he goes in. Everything starts. Turns out they were teleported.
Yeah, they were teleported by Lady True to be in like that center, like, like plaza place in the middle of Tulsa.
Yeah, right where the little, where the little confession booth is at, like I said earlier.
Yeah,
and they're all like basically captured, and Lady True basically explains, yeah, John Keane's plan would have fucked them up. Is really stupid.
Yeah, like she's just sort of like, you guys got lucky with like, because I think they explained that how the reason why they're getting all those batteries was because it was like filled with like the lithium and stuff like that, which would like contain him, Dr. Manhattan, and like she was essentially like, I mean, you found a way to capture him, but like your plan to like just transfer his powers from him to you, it was not well thought out at all.
Yeah, half baked, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
And even Angel's like, you probably aren't. You True pretty much probably just played you, and it feels like it.
Yeah, because it turns out that like the power sources that True, they stole power sources from True, which for Angela is sort of like, I'm pretty sure she just let you steal them.
Yeah, because remember that was her plan, was to capture Dr. Manhattan and take his powers.
Yeah, they essentially have the same plan. Obviously, Keed and like True, like no, it's like True was like obviously had the plan probably way before Keed did, so
it was more thought out. It was more planned out than Keed did. As he said, his plans were mostly half baked. This is where I really figured that Keed was more of that stereotypical supervillain, where like he's overly silly, he's really cartoonish, especially with his southern accent.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's definitely sort of like he's like not as like menacing. He's sort of like just kind of like he thinks that he has a very great plan, but when looked like, because I think I mentioned it before, like I think that like a couple of times, like in previous episodes about his plan, that it's like, is this gonna work? I mean,
Yeah, even like we knew, but I think that's kind of like the end. The whole point of the joke is that he's not supposed to be taken seriously. Like he's making points, but like he is not a. It's kind of like poking fun at the idea of what he represents.
Yeah,
that's what I felt. That's me, like deep diving into what my thought processes are. But essentially, Keed, he's dead. He's just a puddle of blood now. As True explained, that if you don't have a power source you can't just automatically just take all that power. You need take it out and then synthesize it back into someone. Like as Dr. Manhattan explained in the previous episode, he can probably do that by transferring to something, and then that person can take that and sort of get his powers.
Yeah, and like it's funny too because she's sort of like, "Where is Keith? Oh, is he in there? Oh, that's probably not good." And she opens the hatch where he was going to like be inside.
Yeah, where he was going to emerge as the new Dr. Manhattan.
And he opens it, and it's just a bunch of like it's like he's basically goo. He's not. It's like, which I mean honestly, like I mean, I kind of called it last week.
Yeah.
Or like the last episode, and except I assumed he was gonna just explode.
Mm-hmm.
Like him inside the thing would just explode, and he's just become like nothingness. But no, he's I'll take him being liquefied goo.
Yeah. And True, essentially, she has the White Cavalry, the high-ranking members of the 7th Cavalry cornered, and she's got a little speech going, probably Will's speech to them, but Jed's wife is like, just kill us, and True's like, all right, and essentially she just disintegrates all of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was high members of like Cyclops.
Yeah,
so, but yeah, she basically just only brought them there essentially to fulfill her bargain with Will, which was like, help me take down the Cyclops, in which she kind of does. She disintegrates all of them.
And now she's ready to proceed. But Dr. Manhattan was at least able to. By the way, Dr. Manhattan, while stuck in there, he's kind of like jaded. He doesn't know where he's at. Like his brain is not. He's not fully there.
Yeah, like he's sort of like just because of like the material of the cage, he's sort of like doesn't really know where he's at. Like I think.
We mean literally, he doesn't know where he's at. He's talking about he's using 1980. He does a lot of references from the book, being 1985. Talking to Jenny Slater, his girlfriend at the time, before he was with Lori, and stuff like that. But he was able to snap a little bit back in when he saw like the pool of blood, and using the pool of blood, he was able to teleport Vite, Lori, and good old Looking Glass to Vite's old office in the Antarctic. Yeah. And True's a little upset with that, but she just goes ahead with the plan anyway. But while they're over there, I mean Vite and Team Vite, let's call them that for now.
I mean, if you wanna.
I mean, just easier to say that. But essentially, they have a plan to stop it by using squids. And, well, yeah. And so they go through the plan. They find a way to stop the plan, thankfully enough. Yeah, we're trying to say some stuff for the spoiler portion because we got a lot to talk about in that area. But essentially, yeah, John's dead.
Yeah, no, True is successful in her plan to at least kill Dr. Manhattan.
Which isn't a spoiler because we knew that was gonna because he even said, I'm not gonna survive this. Yeah. So don't add us, please, for spoiling that. But no, essentially it's a very touching moment between him and Angela. It was their last moments together. And as she disappears, Vite go ahead and plans out the whole situation. And now, as it all looks like it's going to happen, Vite essentially makes another rainfall of squids. But instead of just a normal rainfall, he makes them a little more, I guess it'd be comparable to hail.
Yeah, he freezes the squids instead of just dropping them normally, which essentially, yeah, it basically is hail because he's sort of like...
I think it's a lot more faster than that.
Yeah, like... Because like hail, like some like very like strong hailstorms. Yeah. Because like can like pretty much like wreck stuff with enough velocity, and that's basically his plan is to like essentially stop True's machine from like giving her the powers, because then because all those frozen squids would be hard enough and fast enough to like pretty much destroy anything.
Yeah, and so Bihan gets a call from Lori telling her to tell Angela, get the hell out or you're screwed.
Yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah, and to which she complies and she gets the hell out. And she goes into the Dreamland Theater, which, by the way, I don't know if we mentioned this last week. That's where Will and the kids are hiding.
Oh yeah, like Dr. Manhattan, like last episode, teleported the kids to the theater where Will's at, so that he could take care of them.
Mm-hmm. And so Angela walks in, getting away from the ring, and has a heart to heart with her grandfather. And they explain to her that, well, he explains to her that Dr. Manhattan foresaw a bunch of this. He even saw that what True was planning, so he knew how to basically screw over True.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Dr. Manhattan has said before, like he experiences everything all at the same time, so he kind of like sort of already knew pretty much what exactly was going to happen, like this night for him. So like he essentially kind of was like sort of put into motion like this plan to essentially like at least like since he knows he's gonna die, at least sort of like prepared like stuff so that True wouldn't get the powers.
Yeah, and so Angela and Will have a conversation about the reason why they became, mass vigilantes, and how essentially that kind of ruined Will's life, and they just start to bond. It's a very nice scene, a very calm scene. They're in the same theater that he essentially that the first episode started off with.
Yeah,
with his mom and the whole bash reason why he named himself Will Reeves.
Yeah,
and all that good stuff. And so essentially, Angela, not knowing where she's from, now understanding why her grandfather did the way things he did, and knowing that Dr. Manhattan was planning on what to do with the whole situation, they essentially, Angela essentially like asked him to live for them for a couple nights, just for a little while.
Yeah.
And so the rain's over. They all head home. Topher finds out that Angela was Sister Night.
Yeah.
In a very quiet scene, and then just like drive home. And well, that's basically where we're going because we still have some spoilers to talk about in this last episode. Just to pad it out, really. But no, they're good. They're good things to talk about because we want to go deeper into those ideas. But essentially, that is the episode, and it ends in a way where you could have another season. In a way, it's a very open-ended episode finale. This and this happens. Well, again, we're going into the spoilers, but it's very open-ended. You couldn't. I feel like you and I talked about this. They could make another season of this. Question is, and this is gonna be, and this is we're gonna talk about this before we go to spoilers. Should there be another season of Watchmen?
I don't think so. Like, because I think you've mentioned before that like if there are going to be other seasons, that they're going to be like sort of like how they do True Detective, like it's sort of like an anthology series kind of.
Well, Damon Lindelof, the creator of this show, has said that he only did these number of episodes because he wanted to. He didn't want to like make us a huge season thing. He didn't want to. He had one story to tell, and that was it. And this was his story.
Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, like I am perfectly fine with it ending here.
Like no season 2.
Like yeah, but like especially like it. I guess it would be interesting considering how this season ends.
Yeah.
A potential season 2, but like for me personally, like I think it's fine with just being a single like sort of self-contained like story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like technically for if they do another season, they can do whatever they want. It doesn't have to be centered around the main cast we had in this season. But I'm with you that I don't want another season. Well, that's just me speaking personally. I don't want another season. I think this one is just good enough. Because my worry is that if we do more than this season, You know, will it capture the feeling of the book? Are they just doing some random thing? Like, what would it be about? You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So, I mean, if depending who's in it, I mean, I might give it a try. But I'm with Lindelof and saying this is just a one season kind of thing. If it's open for it, I'm down for it. But it's gonna be hard to top this
Yeah, I guess I could agree with you on that.
because it's so like close and shut. Like not literally close and shut, but you know it's like it ends, but it never really ends. Kind of like the quote, like kind of like what Dr. Mahan tells Adrian that nothing really ends. So I guess this is where we go into spoilers.
Yeah, if you want to do that.
Yeah, let's do that. So guys, we're going to the spoiler portion. So if you guys haven't seen the episode, go ahead. We usually like to give you a quick rundown of what happens and any important details we leave for the spoilers. So yeah, go ahead and check out the last episode. Go check out the rest of the show, all the episodes, man. It's a really good show. And I think I said this before. I think it would have been cooler if it was all bingeable. Like instead of just releasing it weekly, it would have been. I mean, we could you know, having it coming out every week is fine, but I think it, as an experience is better as a binge.
I mean, yeah, it's debatable.
You're like, I'm not gonna argue that.
I know it's
yeah, but no. So guys, go ahead and watch it. Come back to us when you can, and yeah, enjoy yourself. So spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, Joey. Where do we start off with the spoilers? What should we go with first?
If anything, we didn't really mention what exactly happens to Lady True.
Yeah, so we gotta go into that. Which, okay, can I say about what's weird is that she's always that throughout this episode she's walking around with this hat that they just weirdly mention that for me looked like a halo. Like she's kind of like.
Well, I think there's a good portion of this episode that sort of like tries to paint her as like sort of like a messiah, kind of, or at least that's how she believes herself to be.
Yeah.
Because I think like we also didn't mention that half the reason why Adrian Veidt essentially is fine with essentially does like because like Adrian Veidt like stopping True wasn't like Dr. Manhattan didn't tell him to do that. He did that by himself because he was explaining to Laurie that like he did not trust Lady True to have like those powers because she was a narcissist.
Like she has a lot of bad qualities. Funny enough, qualities that he has.
Yeah, and he essentially was like, like if someone like her were to get those powers, she wouldn't stop at just doing all the stuff that she wanted to do. You know, like
getting rid of the nukes.
Yeah, getting rid of nukes and like pretty much just like solving the world's problems because she would have essentially done her best to essentially subjugate humanity in a weird way.
Yeah.
Which is something that he was not like willing to let happen, the possibility to let happen. So he essentially, does the plan with the frozen squids dropping on Tulsa. And yeah, basically because of that, it destroys the machine and Lady True gets crushed underneath it.
Yeah, which it's funny because we knew it was happening because, she's sitting there like waiting for it to happen. Waiting for the light to envelop her, and like God, whatever. And she gets hit with one of the ice squids through her hand.
Yeah.
Like this is her for. I'm gonna look for it as we talk. But you take it from here explaining.
But yeah, no, like I mean, like when you were mentioning, I think that she's sort of like being painted. Like how we mentioned when she sort of like tries to see herself as like a sort of messiah figure, yeah, like she basically like in the framing while she's waiting for it, like because remember like she teleported like the cavalry with her, and they were all sitting in those like in that like fake church looking thing with like a Jesus cross in the background.
Yeah.
basically sort of framing her as sort of like her being like essentially going to become a messiah, like a god.
Mm-hmm.
But then she gets, hit with the squid and like leaves a hole in her hand, which I think when we were watching, we kind of pointed out that it's kind of resembles like Jesus and like the stigmata.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I had it up here so I can read it.
Yeah. I hope I pronounced that right. But basically, yeah, like just it's sort of like she's trying to it's kind of like a weird symbolism thing.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty cool though.
Yeah,
it's because like as she's framed as the light enveloping her, about to envelop her, and in the background is the crucifixion of Christ, and the first thing that happens is she gets hit with in her hand in her palm, same as Jesus when he was nailed to the cross. We're both Catholics, so yeah, we immediately noticed that. So, that was Vight's way of like screwing it over, and as all of it was falling down, it kills her.
Yeah,
which is kind of makes sense because it's very much an Adrian thing to do. Adrian kind of like wants to help humanity, but at the same time he's very narcissistic.
Yeah,
especially as we later see him in this iteration, because he's because he wants that recognition of like, I saved humanity, I was the one who did this and that, but he's not gonna get it because
Oh yeah, I think we also forgot to mention that the cops show up.
Yeah, the cops are showing up. Everyone's there. Red Scarce is there. Pirate Jenny's there. Also, we forgot to mention that they take Bihan into custody. I think.
I don't think they took her into custody. Really, I think they more just like because like I think she's one of the few people that like survives the hailstorm because she hides in the booth.
Yep.
And like I guess they're just taking her in like
questioning.
I guess probably questioning and also like I don't know. I don't think they would arrest her.
No, of course not. This is the first thing I think of. But essentially, as we go on, but it's True's dead, and this is the aftermath. And one thing we forgot to mention as well, Adrian Veidt. What happens to Adrian Veidt? So Adrian essentially helps Looking Glass and Laurie find a way out because he was able to scavenge out Archie, the good old owl ship from Night Owl.
Yeah.
And so he's like, good luck, you guys. But Laurie's like, no, dude, you're under arrest. And that's the shock of Adrian. He's like, why? You have no proof. He's like, nope, Looking Glass, he has the disc that explains to them what he was planning.
Yeah.
So essentially, he's trying to like talk, advise him like, you can't arrest me because that means you're going to arrest the president. And he's like, well, if he's got to go too, he's got to go. And Veidt, he's still trying, but they just knock him out and just take him away. Yeah,
and he sort of he uses the argument like, I just hate humanity like twice now. All right.
Yeah, and like even Laurie's like, you keep saying humanity's gonna end up being killing themselves, but it just never happens. So essentially, they're planning on like revealing, like the whole squid invasion was fake.
Yeah,
which is funny because I know I've been a broken record about talking about this book, but it's kind of hard not to see the parallels. But in Doomsday Clock, that is literally the first issue. Everyone finds out about the squid attack, leading to like a big old like riots in the streets kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. But no, they take him away. He's gonna get arrested, and the last thing we could talk about right now is what happens to Angela. So if you guys remember in last week's episode, Manhattan talked about transferring his power to an egg. Like he just gave an example, if I could passage this, my power to an egg, you can use it, you can, if you eat it, you'll have my powers.
Well, yeah, like he was Angela was sort of like saying like, so if you were to like put your powers into like this egg, like could someone eat it and then like gain your powers? And he's like, theoretically, yes, it's possible. I mean,
kind of like what True was trying to do.
Kind of, but she was more like destroys Dr. Manhattan's and breaks him down, and then like into the machine, and then have the machine shoot him back like but filtered through. But yeah, that's basically what he said. And Angela like notices that the eggs that like she like sort of like threw down last episode, while like John was gonna make like waffles.
Yeah, there's at least one survive. Which, by the way, also Will was told by Dr. Mahan to tell Angela that sometimes you gotta break. Well, it was during the conversation he dropped it. He like basically name dropped it, saying that sometimes you gotta break a couple eggs to make an omelet. And Angela was like, I don't know what that means. Well, I was like, well, he's told me you'll know what it means when the time comes. And now the time has come. She sees the egg and she gets the idea. Because she remembered that Dr. Mahan was like, you see me walk on water is going to be significant at some point. To what she does. So she essentially leaves out the house to the pool, breaks the egg, drinks the yolk, and she prepares to try to step on water, only for the show to immediately end by going black.
Yeah, like
that's why we say it's an open-ended thing.
Yeah, she basically eats the egg and like just when she's about to like put her foot on the water, the show ends. It cuts to black.
Yeah, which is for me that's why I think this shouldn't be one, because I don't want to see Angela go around with god powers. I also don't want to see what happens and I don't want to see anything else aside from that. But I really like that ending. It gives you that sense of like hope that there still could be like a Dr. Manhattan like thing going on.
Yeah, or it could just be like, because I mean, Dr. Manhattan himself said it's theoretically possible. Whether or not it works specifically is because at this point, Dr. Manhattan is dead. Like he doesn't know if it's going to happen. He just like he did it and like just is wondering if it might happen. It's a possibility, so it's entirely possible that it doesn't work.
Yeah, and so just to like tie it back to the whole Christ imagery, the whole body bread thing that we Catholics know about, the body of Christ.
Well, I mean, it's not really a Catholic thing; it's more like just a Christian thing, really.
Oh yeah, but essentially, there's a chance that Angela has his powers. I doubt it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
If we get the second season, I'm not for it, but we'll see. But that was Watchmen, the last episode. It's like we said earlier, it was a good show. I was glad watching it. I know you were glad watching it. Anything else we got to say?
No. I mean, we already like sort of like said like our piece, at least at the beginning, of how we felt about the show in general, and the episode in general being like solid. And yeah, I think overall, like it was a good experience.
Yeah, I'm down to maybe watch it again, but we'll see. So yeah, guys, that's been us talking about the last episode of Watchmen. So be sure to, we're the Geek Centurions. Be sure to check us out on all the podcasting sites: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Castbox. Those are 5 good ones right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media with Instagram. Twitter's coming up soon, and Facebook. We always post on Twitter. We always try to post on Instagram, so just check us out there most often. And so please support us on Patreon. We like to get stuff going. We like to get, provide you guys with more stuff out there. And if you do that, you'll be able to get it. Also, you follow us on YouTube. Subscribe, notification, bell icon, all that good stuff that you all know that they always make us ask you guys to do. It's a lot of cool. It's the best way for you guys to support us too. And well, yeah, that's about it. Joey, just take it away.
Well, I mean, that's the end of this sort of little series. It's been me, Joe,
and well, hopefully we'll do more of these. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's been me, your boy Eli from the Geek Centurions, and we are officially signing out of Watchmen. Peace.